We are three friends exploring connection from the coffee shop to the podcast studio. I'm Amy.
I'm Anna.
I'm Aaron.
All right, everybody. So welcome back. We're super glad that you're here, that we're here.
Yeah.
Right?
You're glad we're here.
Yes.
Dory is not here.
Dory's not here this
Dory is
episode.
not.
She had to stay home. In fact, I don't know if she'll be invited back.
Dory's not.
Pretty sure she's not going to be invited back.
Oh, no, just kidding. Okay.
I know everybody really liked the panting and barking.
Hopefully it was okay. It
was
added
alright.
to the home episode.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's what I'm going to
that's true.
stick with.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Special
looks
guest.
Hope you all agree. So today we're on episode 8, and the topic for today is a big one. It is connection to the digital world.
Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So
is a big
lots.
one. We
it
have
is
a lot
big
to
one.
talk about.
Before we get into it, quick shout out, right?
Yeah.
WeEditPodcast.com. Hey, thank you. Please remember to go there and then use the discount code Less Alone Podcast for 20% off your first month at WeEditPodcasts.com.
Yeah, they've been so awesome.
So awesome.
Gosh, they've saved us tons and tons of time. So if you're into podcasting, if you're starting, if you're like, oh my gosh, I want a podcast, but I don't have the time to do the editing, like they have saved us so much time.
Yes.
Highly, highly recommend them.
Yep. And we got to move on to our awareness nugget.
Yeah.
So last episode, we left with the question, are the things you're surrounding yourself with helping you to create the home you want? Anna, what do you think?
I feel like generally I'm really good at this. My husband tends to be pretty minimal, almost to the extreme. So like he always loves having the dining room table like cleared, all the like countertops clear. I'm more like, let's put the gadgets on the countertop and keep
Like the
things
coffee
out.
maker?
Yeah. Like I would have like my coffee maker and the espresso thing, and the soda stream, and like all the things, and the KitchenAid mixer. Like let's put them all there so I can use them when I want. But I mean, granted, we do have like very, very limited counter space. But so, I mean, people come to our house and they're usually like, whoa, you don't have anything. And so I feel like we're pretty good at this, generally speaking. But something.
What about the things that you do have? Do you feel like they are giving you the home environment you want?
Yeah, I'm pretty tuned into that stuff. So I feel like whenever, like something that totally has helped is having a container that is for donate. So it's like kind of in our back area and it just says donate on it. And then when I'm ready to get rid of something, I just throw it in there, and it's nice to kind of have a place for things. Like we talked a little bit about having a system in place or maintenance, like in why the KonMari method is a little troubling, or not troubling, but hard to keep up with.
Yeah,
is
the maintenance
because of the
is hard.
maintenance, right? So I feel like no matter what you're doing, you have to have something that works for you, and it has to be like, sustainable.
Yeah.
So that's
so
something
the donate
that's in-
one works
yeah,
for you.
yeah.
That's cool. What about you, Aaron?
Inside the house, I think that we are doing fairly well. Sometimes the kitchen, we have our kitchen's real small, but we have this table that we don't sit at. It's just for stuff, really.
Junk collector.
Well, that's what ends up
Junk
happening.
table.
It's nice because we don't have a lot of counter space for cooking, so it's nice when it's in there for that. We do need to clean the mud room, like the room that we come in, because we just have
that's a hard room.
a bunch of stuff in there, and it's the first thing, because we don't come in the front door, we come in the side door where the mud room is, and so it just, when it's cluttered, it doesn't give when it's clean, it feels like when you walk in, but then when it's not, so we do need to work on that. But other than that, I think we're doing all right.
Good.
I saged my house this morning. So
Oh, that's good.
Cleaned all the energy.
So
Do that every so often.
with saging, I have a whole sage kit, but I've never actually used it.
Is it like to make a smudge stick?
No. I mean, I have
Oh.
I bought it off of Etsy. It's like, I had like a sage bundle and Palo.
Yeah.
What is it?
Palo Santo.
Palo Santo. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't really know how to do it.
Smoke it. Let it smoke.
It kind of smells like weed.
Well,
it's
that's
like
what I
pretty
heard.
intense. I had it all. I was running today, and it was all in my coat, on my shirt. And I was like,
stoner
this is
trail runner.
Hey, no,
Smoke a
so I'm like, just sweaty and I got in the car after the run, and Chris was like, "You smell like weed and
B-O.
sweat." And I'm like, "Well, that's not."
Welcome to Colorado, Chris.
Hey. God. But so to make sure it gets in the corners and kind of underneath any kind of your bed or whatever, and then
where energy can be stagnant.
yes, to release everything that does not serve you.
Okay,
That's
and
what I
then
say repeatedly.
oh, do you say something when
And
you're
to me, like, please release anything that's not serving us.
Oh, okay.
Please release anything that's not
Oh,
serving
that's
us.
cool.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
there's also sweet grass, I think it's called. It smells so good, but
Is that what the kids are calling it
that's-
these days?
no. And I had a intern, and she was Native American, and so she gave me sweetgrass to that brings in good energy.
Oh.
And so,
cool.
But it doesn't burn very well, so you can't do the whole house. But
What
it's
does a Palo Santo stuff do?
Same as the sage,
clearing.
right?
I think it's clearing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was
it
like
smells real good.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I think it's less offensive.
Oh, okay.
The smell. The sage is
Than
like
the sage.
really strong.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I heard make sure you can open your windows and doors.
yeah. Yes, open everything.
You want ventilation.
Yes.
Get that
Yeah.
stuff out.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I got to say with my challenge, I am in a very transitional time of life right now. So when I'm looking around my house and I'm thinking about this, it's like, oh boy, there's a lot that will be cleared out and just a lot that will, things to say. But I think it's really important during the transition. And then once, I kind of move into my next phase, I'm glad to have the awareness around oh yeah, what is going to serve me when I move forward, and so I definitely appreciate the challenge.
Yeah.
Right.
It was funny. This morning, Henry, I was like, okay, Henry, it's time to go home. He goes, you mean headquarters? Oh, cute. Aw, yes, headquarters.
That's awesome.
He's a big Paw Patrol fan. So,
right.
yeah.
That is great.
And then my brother-in-law, my husband. Okay, have you guys ever had a haunted house experience?
I went to a cemetery in Edinburgh, Scotland, and it was
it legit haunted?
legit. I could. It was what happened. Well, this whole thing is that supposedly the story is the spirit was coming out and the caretaker was going in, and it was this powerful
Into
poof,
the...
wait, who told that story?
the ghost telling thing? But then you go into this little enclave thing that's I don't know, in the cemetery, and it was the creepiest shit I've ever.
The hair on the back of
And I
your
was
neck
like, oh,
stood up.
this is real. Yes, you could feel someone back there. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Wait, why? Why do you ask that?
Well, okay, so this morning...
Slightly off topic.
yeah.
So this morning, my husband's he didn't tell me anything. He's like, here, listen to this. What do you hear? And I was like, I listened, and I'm like, a car went by. It literally was nothing. And then he's like, no, does it sound like help me? And I would listen to it again. It was a recording from my brother-in-law who recorded his sound machine, just like a noisemaker sound machine. And apparently he said that was talking to him. And it said, help me. And I was like, yeah, no, that sounds like a car going by. But it made me think of all these haunted house, spirit, things like that. And we had gone on a trip recently, and my neighbor said, are you guys home? I hear footsteps. And we're like, oh shit, no, we're gone.
Ugh, that's creepy.
Yeah, so then
In your house here?
Yeah, and so I kept thinking oh shit, is someone in my house?
You have a ghost.
Do we have a ghost? Yeah, so it just got me thinking about all these haunted spirit stuff. But we
Definitely a lot to think about with home
yeah.
and connection to home. And,
Rein that in, Ann.
but here we go.
Way to
We're going to
rein
come
that
back.
in.
We're coming back. We are coming back.
Thanks, Amy.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Hold on.
Thanks, Amy.
Well done.
I'm thinking connection to ghosts, connection to haunted house.
Moving forward.
Okay. So.
Okay, thanks, Amy.
You are so welcome, and everyone can have a little think about that.
Tell us about your haunted house.
Just tell Anna.
Before we go,
I don't wanna
on, we are going to do an awesome review.
Yes,
Because
yes,
we've
yes,
got
yes.
another one. And again, we just want to say thanks so much to everybody who are leaving these reviews. This is from Nat B888. And the title is Uplifting and Relatable and Funny. Feels like a kitchen table convo with your ride or die BFFs. Love the candor around obstacles these ladies have overcome to stay connected to each other. 6 a.m. hangouts? Yes, please. Goals.
That was great.
That's
really
so great.
good.
Thank you, NatB888. That's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. We love hearing that.
So, without further ado,
Here we are.
here we go.
Yeah.
Connection to the digital world.
There's so much here to talk about.
There really
A
is.
lot.
And so many articles. We found so much information. And I feel like the ones that I had reviewed, you could almost take a little nugget from every paragraph.
Right.
So
Oh, for
we'll
sure.
try to be succinct.
Well, and like
We'll try.
says these 3 chatterboxes.
Says the ghost hunter, Anna.
I'm like, what?
Exactly.
What? We haven't talked about haunted houses. This is
Our
perfect.
connection
We're coming
to
back.
home.
Everybody, ghosts are off the table for the
Okay,
rest of the
okay,
episode.
Generally, love, like, hate social media.
Yeah,
Or
what do you think?
Digital world, I guess, not just social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you kick it off?
Well, I think just like you accidentally just said social media, I think the digital world is synonymous with the social media. And like, that's probably the biggest thing we think of when we think of the digital world. At least that's my biggest interaction with it too. We don't have a smart home set up currently for our house, but I love all those different pieces that go into that.
Can you talk? What is that? How would you define a smart home?
Oh, like when you walk up
Nest.
and like, yeah, Nest, which is a thermometer or what is it?
It's
A
kind of like
thermostat?
everything. Thermostat, doorbell cams, webcams, like it's everything. You can basically regulate and monitor your home from your smartphone.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's little devices, you can turn on and off lights. You can change the temperature. You can have a, video recording or
Does that feel
doorbell ring.
cumbersome?
Well, I don't have that, but I really like that idea or certain pieces of it.
Okay.
Alexa freaks me out more than like Nest or something.
Well, because
Yeah.
because they had. I heard some article, I don't know, and there's a whole team of people that at Amazon that are listening to that, not specifically to like they're not listening to this conversation, but as a whole, there's a team of people that are actually listening on Amazon. That's for real thing.
Wait, Alexa, though, doesn't record.
Well, I don't know if it doesn't record, but they're listening on Amazon to see. That's why.
What people are asking her? Or
yeah, what people are talking about in the room where Alexa is. That was my understanding of the article.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
because you
I
can
hope not.
totally tap into stuff. I'm sure.
Well,
I'm
then why do you
sure.
get Facebook ads that say whatever the hell you're talking about? And then
Well, but I think though, you
so
can
your
interact.
phone is doing that too
Yeah, the phone is listening.
all the time.
No, but not like a recording device though. It's like if you interact with the apps.
No, it's always
On
listening.
Alexa, it's always listening.
Yeah. Yeah, it freaks you out, right? Okay, and I have
Sweaty
to tell
pits, Amy?
I have to tell you this thing happened. Okay, so I recently went to
I'm about to have a panic attack.
yeah.
Yeah.
Alexa's up in
true.
your shit.
I have
Yeah.
a lot. I think we have more than one Alexa. I think we have
Yeah.
like 3 or 4
Yeah.
Alexas.
Yeah.
We have a Google one. I was listening to something on the computer about something that said something like something Google, and Google responded from the computer to the thing, and I was like, what the hell
Yeah.
is going on? And
That's crazy.
Yes.
There's a woman that I know who's super into, oh gosh, what's it called? Like the waves transmitting through everything.
Radio waves?
No, it's like the actual like 4G, 5G,
Oh, yeah.
like that.
The
whole thing.
internet.
Yes, but like all the like Bluetooth, all the waves that are going
Yep.
through the air, and like all the studies around that are showing
don't hold
all
your phone
the
up to your head.
effects, right? But even having Wi-Fi in your house, she was saying. I mean, she's like disconnected entirely. She only used she uses like the old Ethernet, and really tries to do everything she can not to have those waves going on because it's affected her physical body. She's like gotten physically sick.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Have you watched Better Call Saul? Like
No.
the brother of the main guy, the main character, has this like sensitivity to
Yes. Yes, it's real.
the waves.
Yes.
Yeah. So like he has this whole place in like covered in
Yes.
aluminum foil and stuff. totally is the same. Yeah.
Exactly. Sad.
Yeah.
Okay,
Really quick about the listening thing. So I was in California recently at the Facebook Community Summit, and I'm going to talk about this just a little bit more later on in the episode, but they gave us this gift, this portal thing, and I was playing music when I was getting ready in the morning, and it tried to connect to the portal to play the music, and it was still in the box to the speaker, and I was like, what the heck? How, like, it's already listening? Oh my gosh. And like, if you go through like the terms and conditions, I think it says like you're basically agreeing to that, let them listen in. And then I asked Facebook later on, I'm like, what the hell was that all about? Trying to keep it light and trying to decide, like, do I sell this thing? Like, before we take it out of the box or whatever. And she's like, oh yeah, I think that it was because it was in a hotel and other people had probably taken theirs out. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe that. I want to believe that. Anyway, it's sitting on our shelf in our living room right now.
Whoa.
So we decided to go for it. But yeah, it's wild.
I'm gonna do more research about this.
Yeah.
I gotta check into my
and
Alexas.
people can track, like the same thing as your phone tracks you everywhere if your location's on, so you know wherever, like, you know.
Which has been an amazing thing when it comes to crime.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, huge benefits.
Well, and I was
These
thinking
two
just
love
traffic.
the podcast on crimes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. It's true, though.
Yeah,
like, they can
true.
trace, they can find people.
Right.
Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah.
Well, and then also I was just thinking about like traffic and being able to be like, oh, traffic is congested here.
It's fantastic. That's awesome.
So I think that's interesting when you think about the digital world. You know, social media is a huge thing, right? But then, like, even just in this tangent, right, has taken us all over the place to nest from, traffic to...
They're all listening to us.
Yes. So they're all listening to it. So I think it's an important thing to think. And maybe, I mean, one thing I'm thinking about is like, my connection to the digital world. For me, I do have a lot of apps that I really like. And I really love podcasts. Mm-hmm. And that is I connect to them. And that's a huge benefit for me. I don't have a huge connection to social media. And in fact, I'm like barely on it, as some of you may have noticed.
We haven't been able to tag you in anything.
No. So just not really my thing. I'm entertaining the idea of coming back on.
Yeah.
But who knows? I just think that, in some ways it's almost like we could think about this in smaller chunks. Right. What is your connection to the digital world? But then under that, there's so many subcategories.
Well, I'm thinking, the very large world, this whole 5G things that's happening, and that there's this race to get 5G. Like whoever controls the 5G is then the person
I don't know about this race.
So there's a race that China
faster
internet, and that China is on the ball with that. We are trying to do that, and then whoever helps implement the 5G in whatever countries. So there's this whole back and forth thing. Then there is talk about then that's who controls power. So like it's not about like the superpower is now related to technology and digital information. Which is fascinating.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yes. Crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
So interesting. So, Aaron, what do you think about more of your personal connection with the digital world?
I think I have a love-hate relationship with the digital world. I think social media stuff, sometimes I really like it, and sometimes I have to take it off my phone because it just gets too consuming. I realize sometimes when I feel real anxious, then I find myself like just flipping through Instagram pictures. I watch a lot of like those dodo videos on animals.
Dodo?
That's like that's like what I need.
Like a dodo bird?
No, well, that's called Dodo. Like that's the company. And so they have tons of animal videos, and I just love like the cow that's playing fetch with the person. I could watch that shit all day long. That's like my guilty pleasure where I'm like, I just need something.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do we have otters holding hands or cows fetching balls? Because that's what I love.
Yes.
And so I get real sucked into that, but sometimes I need to just take that. So right now, actually I put it on last night. But yeah, so I like that. Facebook, I sometimes get into and sometimes don't get into. But in terms of like, I just got a Garmin watch for trail running, and I love that thing, and I love that it has all the metrics.
Yeah.
And it helps
You've
me.
been like, every time I've been seeing you, you're like telling me you're stressed.
I love
the
it.
newest update. I'm like, where's the stress at today?
Yes. It's amazing, but you get all these metrics of
cool.
what's happening. And so I love and I listen to Audible and podcasts, and so that helps me.
Buddhify.
I don't know Buddhify.
Oh, I love Buddhify.
What is Buddhify?
We'll link to it.
Okay.
It's meditations.
Oh,
it's
right.
guided
Yeah, and
meditations.
the Calm app, and I used to use Headspace, and so
Heart
all
math.
that, and Heart Math. All that stuff has benefited my life a ton. I just think that you just have to be mindful of it. How about you guys?
I think I kind of got off track, but like I
Really?
No.
that's just kind of how I'm
is
doing today.
shocking.
I know it's totally out of character for me. I don't know what's up today.
Anna, what is your relationship with the digital world?
That's for
Your
us.
connection?
Oh, you're ready for me to talk again? All
Who are
right.
you gonna call?
Generally, I would say I love it. Yeah. Generally,
You're a huge fan
Huge
and a
fan.
huge user.
yeah, I like it, and it works for me, and I found ways to make it work for me, and I tend to go all in with things,
Yeah.
and when
So
it
great.
feels like too much, or when my husband tells me, you're on your phone too much, I say, oh hell no, why not just tell me that?
I feel like through this whole podcast experience, if you've been in touch with our social media with the podcast, I feel like I'm very, very lucky to have had to been alongside you in your process of this social media genius thing, because that is
Should market
it's been
that.
super good learning for me, and so
You called me your marketing mama or something,
It's like, my guru. You're my guru. Come on. Yep.
Yeah,
It's good.
You're like,
Yes.
I was like a little baby Aaron. Come on,
Yeah.
I will guide
Come on,
you
I'll
through
show you.
this. Here's why we do it this way.
Yes, and so it's been super helpful. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, along that
What
that
about you?
line,
Do you love it or hate it?
I said
Or-
I wanted to compartmentalize.
Oh,
it.
I see,
So
I
my take was like the social media. No, not. I mean, I don't even. I'm not really even on it. I do like Instagram, kind of.
Why do you like Instagram but not? And I'm guessing the other one would be Facebook. That
Yeah.
you
So
don't
honestly,
prefer.
like I got off of Facebook during the election.
Oh, okay.
That I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
This is just not. And then, so I haven't been on since.
Okay.
And it's not like I was a huge user before. But then Instagram, I like to see pictures of what friends are doing, I guess. But sometimes it also gets to be too much for me.
Yeah.
And so
One of the benefits of Instagram, I think, is that you can see things from all over the world, like the picture's worth 1,000 words idea. It's like you don't have to know the language to be able to experience these beautiful things.
I do like Instagram the
It's
best.
pretty cool.
me too.
Yeah. But I don't want to
I think the other thing that I like about Instagram is, so have you heard of the Jackalope Art Fair? Do you know the
No.
Jackalope Art? Oh, it's so good. You guys got to go. It's
Those
in
local
Colorado.
people?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
local artisans.
The dry shampoo.
Yes.
Is that- yeah.
Yes.
All right, yeah.
Yes. It's local artisans, and it's basically an indoor giant farmer's market, but
Oh.
no vegetables. No, it's not a farmer's market. That's not right.
Artisan.
It's an artisan fair
Yeah.
or festival, but we'll also link to it because I like it, because so all of those little companies, they had their little business cards and they all had Instagram feeds. And it was just, that was one of the reasons that I do love how businesses can use Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I can follow them. And so, in some ways, it's just, I kind of like almost using it as like shopping.
Yeah.
Like a shopping app.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
I'm sure they're very happy to hear
I
that.
know.
That's
I
what
know,
they
but it's
want.
true.
Well, and as a digital creator myself, it's having social media, partly why I like it is because I'm able, as a small business owner, to reach far more people through these platforms than I would be able to do if it was just like something local.
Maybe that's my thing, is that personally, I don't like sharing in that form. But as a marketer, or like as a person who is in
Consumer?
sales and marketing, and as just a regular consumer, it's an amazing tool.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
amazing.
Amazing. So, and just for small businesses, it's incredible. So I guess, I love hate, but I'm also, again, like, I'm just not a huge user of social media.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
So there is a really great article that I think goes right along with this conversation. So I'm just going to read this little quote here from The New Tech of Relationships, 3 Stories of How Our New Alliance with Technology. And this is written by Margaret E. Morris and was found in m.noddle.us. Clever.
Oh, I think that just means it's a mobile link. The M dot.
Oh, Nautilus. Oh, mobile Nautilus?
Or just like Noddle. Oh,
No, but
Noddle
see the
us.
US. It's clever. It's
Oh,
a clever.
yeah. That is, it went right over my head,
Okay,
clearly.
here we go. So the
Still
quote.
over my head. I'm like, what? What?
Nautilus.
Ready for the quote?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're ready. Good job.
All right. Our relationship to technology and the benefits we reap from it depends on how much we make it our own. This realization has motivated me to contextualize the drumbeat we hear about the perils of technology, particularly social media. Increased isolation, difficulty empathizing, and impaired conversational skills. Rather than regarding technology as an external force or temptation that we have to struggle against, I propose thinking about the alliances that we form with technology. And then in this article, there were 3 different ways that they talk about. One is the connected lights, and I thought that was really cool. It was a story about this couple who lived had distance. It was a long distance relationship, and they had something similar to like a Nest Cam or, some way of controlling lights in their apartments from their smartphones. And so by
They're all lights up.
No, but that's how they showed connection, is that like the one person would turn on the lights for the other and then vice versa. And so they would connect in that way.
Oh, interesting.
Which I thought was really sweet. And then it also
They're
just
like,
talked-
and we have a ghost.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't know
yes.
who did it.
Yeah. But I thought it was sweet. And then the article went on to talk about the importance of light, which then made me think about our last podcast
Right.
and just how it all goes together. But it was really
Present.
interesting. Yeah. And then there was the mood phone. So this
What's
is another
this?
way that they were saying you can use, technology
What
here.
is the mood phone?
So another couple, one guy was like having issues. They were kind of like 2 ships sailing,
okay.
past and not connecting at all. And so I think it was the guy in the relationship had some app on his phone that was tracking his mood.
Oh, moodtracker.com.
Yeah,
Sometimes I tell people to use that.
Yeah,
It's
I don't know
real
what the
helpful.
name of it was, but just in the article they said there wasn't a mood
Right.
app. And
There's
then
a bunch of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that allowed him to open up and have a conversation with his wife or partner about what he was tracking or what he was seeing in his patterns of his moods. And so I don't know. I thought that was interesting too. Like just thinking about
Interesting.
not even necessarily the technology being the thing that connects them, but that
What
it can
it
be used as
allows.
a tool to then have a conversation.
I have whenever I'm training for a race, my running coach doesn't live in the area. And so we have a Google Doc where I can, like, she writes in my schedule and then I write in how the workout was. And so over that time, she realized, like, I'd be like, I don't know why my energy is so low. And she said, well, as we're looking through the doc, it's because every time I get my period, like before it, then I get really, really tired. And so she was able to tell through that. But point being is that technology is awesome and was totally affecting my mood and my ability to train because I was so tired. But I think that's a good way.
And just the connection. I
Yes,
mean, really,
right.
like if you use it or, know, if it doesn't, whatever. But anyway, or again, thinking about the alliances, I
Right.
guess.
Yep.
So, and then the last one was this solar system. So basically it was a visual representation of connections, which I thought was super interesting. But you can...
What is that all about?
Yeah.
So my understanding is that there was a woman who was...
You're all in super interesting, and I'm not going to tell you.
I
about
know. I'll give you the link so you can read about it.
Yeah. Come on, Amy.
Come on, tell us.
No, this one. So there was a woman who was worried about her elderly mother, and she was having some guilt around not caring for her the way she wanted to. And then she also had a lot of other people in her life and relationships, kids, friends, partner, whatever it was. And she wanted to somehow. So what they did is there was an app that basically pulled from her calendar and her email and her phone conversation and her text messages that then they could, and they put it, all of that information or data was then represented in a solar system so that the bright star was like the person or the people that she was connecting to the most.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know.
I'm going to have to read the article.
It was really interesting. But anyway, she was pleased because that visual representation showed that she actually was really taking good care and showing up for her mom.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. You know what I think about? I wonder, so I grew up with a dad that was in the Navy, and he would do 6 and 9 month cruises, and it was all like letters. And so I really wonder what it's like for military families nowadays, like with FaceTime and with,
yes,
technology being so vastly different than it was when I was a kid. Like, I wonder how my relationship with my dad would be different today and when I was a kid by having that connection.
That's super interesting.
Right? Because it would be like, 9 months later, or 6 months later, like, oh, hi, I'm a totally different kid or person, and who are you? You have to get to know each other again. And I'm really curious about that. And it's allowed, my son, where my immediate family right now, like we don't have family around us. So it has really allowed us to give Henry, my son, a relationship with his grandparents that he wouldn't have otherwise.
Yes, FaceTime is huge for my kids.
Yeah.
And out-of-town family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been such a gift.
Definitely. So I guess that kind of goes into the next question about just what do you see as far as how connection, is it lost or is it enhanced or somewhere in between? I mean, I know we just touched on FaceTime and that's an enhancement.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, one of the challenges that we had at one point was that I worked on was my screen time. And it's partly because I was noticing internally that I was not operating the way I wanted to. I wasn't showing up in the way I wanted to with those closest to me. So it was like, is the screen serving you or not? Like, is it a barrier to your connection with those that you're in a room with? And like, it bugs me so much, like when my husband's on his phone. I mean, I do it too, but I'm like, well, I'm working. The easy justification. I'm like, I'm not playing like freaking Words with Friends or whatever. I'm working. So I feel like kind of like self-righteous in that. But it bugs me so much when other people are on their phones around me.
I think with all this connection stuff, I was listening to an interview with Cal Newport. He wrote this book called Digital Minimalism. And I think with the connection thing, which I didn't think about, but it was they talked about how when we switch our attention from one thing to another thing to another thing. And so he was given the example of people are on email and then they're on Slack and then they're on text message and they switch their attention or someone comes in and interrupts or needs a meeting or needs something, that it takes like however we lose productivity time because we're switching from one thing to the other thing. And in the interview, they were talking about how if you have, it's basically a superpower of focus now. And that if you can focus for 2 hours a day, just 2 hours a day, that you are like way ahead of the game.
Wow.
Which is crazy. So he has a whole program on digital minimalism just about how to do that. And he was saying like older people that haven't had social media and digital stuff as part of their lives have an easier time of detox. I mean, it's hard, but then detoxing off of it. But younger people like under 20 or millennials have a really hard time because they have no idea what they want to do with their time. So like they have no like interests or hobbies or whatever because all of it has been online focused, which I think is super fascinating. So I just wonder how that's going to impact the world. Or when they talk about this virtual reality, like everything is going to move to virtual reality.
That's crazy.
Have you ever done that?
No.
But I'm sure it's
crazy.
awesome. They had a thing in like Alaskan prisons or something where they put virtual reality on the prisoners and it helped them to
They're like, I'm
rehabilitate.
not in jail.
But it was great. And so they could go to wherever while they were in jail and meditate, I think was what the whole thing was. But it was fascinating.
Awesome.
So that's a great way for technology to be used. But then it's like, what if I watched that? What's that? 2 Up or 1 Up? That
I just worry like everyone's going to be sitting in their houses with their big VR goggle things on and like.
I tried it actually again at that Facebook community summit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have a thing. I don't even know the name of it. But yeah, I tried it at the Facebook Community Summit, and it was so disorienting. I had to take it off.
Like made you
felt
motion sickness?
wobbly?
Yeah, it made me like just not feel good.
Wow.
And maybe it was because it was something new, and maybe like trying it a second time would be fine, but it was really disorienting.
Interesting.
Erin, I just want to go back to what you said because this article, it's called Bored and Lonely, Blame Your Phone. And it is by Sean Eiling, I think, from Vox.com. And it was all about a book that Susan J. Matt was a co-author of, but it's all about how, let me see if I can find so boredom didn't even exist until the mid 19th century. Okay. Then it goes on to talk about how, this is by Susan J. Matt, so she was one of the co-authors. I think today we generally call being alone loneliness. Often in the 19th century, people talked about it in terms of solitude, and it was generally seen in a more positive, redemptive light. And it goes on to talk about how, like, being alone or in solitude, how it was positive and also really fed creativity.
And then in the last 7 years that is
not happening.
That you finally, in the first time in history in the last 7 years, that you can choose not to have any solitude in your entire life. Like, because you can be constantly entertained, which is, that part I do not think is good for people. Yeah.
So I have another one. So this is another quote, same article. So the smartphone represents a pretty dramatic shift in our expectations of companionship and entertainment, and a shift in how we respond to feelings like boredom and loneliness. Because
you can choose not to.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Which is like, because I was like, even on my run this morning, I was thinking like, oh, I'll listen to something. And then I was like, no, I can't take anything in my brain. And so I just need to be in the woods by myself, no headphones, just with my breath. And that I can tell that I'm really maxed out when I cannot listen to anything when I'm running. Because sometimes, like, when I'm running, I listen to a book on tape or I listen to a podcast, my brain is like firing, but it's just not tired right now. So it's not helpful. But I don't think that people voluntarily take that time to
turn
just
it off.
To just be in solitude. And if you hear, like, I listen to people that go on these 10-day meditation retreats, or there was some author that I can't remember, and he does like a 50-day or like a 3-month silent meditation retreat.
My stepfather-in-law did that. He did 10 days.
I totally want to do that. But then, like, then your creative process gets started because your brain finally has time to rest.
Yes.
There's a book, actually, I got it from the library, and it's called Bored and Brilliant. Ooh. And it's exactly on this topic. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I'm very excited about it. And my little son, Henry, he started saying, Mama, I'm bored. And I've been trying to reply with, it's okay to be bored. Yes. It's like, get out the crayons, make a fort, do something.
Because your brain just has time, like, you just to be. And to
that
rest.
I think is one of, like, the most beautiful things. I just love seeing how my kids can like the gift of play.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how it doesn't, I mean, of course, we go through, waves of more screen time than other times. But in general, like, they can just play.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what a great thing that is.
Do they have imaginary friends like Nooper?
No Noopers in our house.
We don't have a Nooper either.
No Noopers.
So I'm curious so we're at the age, we're all around 40-ish.
Right.
Where we had the experience of speaking of children, we had the experience of growing up without this kind of technology. And then now we have it. Like, I really feel like we're a really cool age to be able to have that experience of very,
plugging phones in the wall.
Call
waiting.
How about the first car phones?
Oh,
yeah, like
my dad had one of those.
Man.
Like, to see what it used to be like and to see what it's like now, and to be able to have both of those experiences. Like, I feel really lucky to be at that age to experience both, and to, like, have the AOL and, like, the first, the world before the internet existed.
When
That's
you could hear like the
crazy.
calling up of the,
Yes.
the dialing into the
and then
Yes.
like someone picking up the phone and be like, "Get up,
Yes.
get off the," you know.
Well, I was talking to my
How
mother.
about encyclopedias?
Oh, yeah,
How about
yeah,
having
the
to look
Britannia
up-
people that would go. Oh, my
Yes.
God.
Like you had to look up
Right.
for all your papers in school.
Yeah, my
like,
mother
on the in the
was-
encyclopedias
was talking about how they used to have the family line or the group line where you would 4 houses would be connected to the same phone line, and I was like, "That is
Party
that's
line.
right.
party line." Yeah. She was talking about the party line. It's
Yeah.
crazy, but like,
Yeah.
it's a whole different.
It's so different. And I went to photo school when I first moved out to Colorado. That's what brought me here. And I learned on film
Oh, sure.
and the dark room. And then when the digital cameras came out, everyone was like, "Oh no,
Yeah.
it'll never be as good as film." And like just
I remember
that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just like this idea that there's no way digital can compare. And then I was telling Amy about this the other day when we were talking about this episode. I was like, my high school boyfriend, Chad. That's such a bro name.
Chad.
But he got into this business and it was like this internet thing. This was when the internet was still new. And I was like, you could, order things. And I remember thinking, why in the world would anyone order something from the computer when you could just go to the store and get it? And like I was like, I remember thinking, good luck, dude. And then
She broke up with him?
Yeah.
She broke up with him over this?
No, not because of that. But I just remember thinking like that's not going to take off. What?
Yeah.
That's such a silly idea. And so now whenever I'm like, you know what? I could be wrong. I think about that.
Thank you, Chad, for that lesson in life.
Thank you, internet.
Yeah.
Remember when you used to get emails, though, when you first got email, how exciting it was to get emails, like when you were in college and you would get friends would send you an email?
Oh, I remember telling
the chats.
Oh,
AOL chat.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't do AOL chat.
Oh, for my friends in college when we'd be home on breaks. Oh, it'd be so great.
Yeah.
I loved
Did you
it.
have an old flip phone?
I did, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still have my same phone number that I had from my very first cell phone.
Really?
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I remember telling someone, do not
I had a
send
phone before you could save your phone number. Like I had a 203 and I don't think I could save it.
Oh, interesting.
You couldn't what?
You couldn't transfer it, I mean. You know how like you can keep your phone number?
Oh, I mean, I had the
yeah.
same
I don't
phone,
think
same
that was
company.
always the case,
Oh,
was
really?
it? I don't
I've
know.
had mine
I don't
since
know.
Actually,
the
I
same
don't
one
know.
since 2000, 1999 or 2000. Is that crazy?
That's crazy.
Yes.
Okay, maybe I just didn't know you could.
I
don't know.
win,
Right.
Amy.
You win. I lose.
No, but I remember it's not a competition.
Okay, good.
But I remember telling people like, don't text me. There's no way I'm going to get it. It'll be days. Like, why would people text me? That's so silly. Like, so it's
And
like, now
only text.
Yeah,
please
now
text
listen to
only.
Anna's voicemail.
Yep.
Because it says don't leave me a voicemail.
Actually, I don't check my voicemail.
Right. Yeah.
Like, oh, it really says that. Oh,
Yeah.
Like, I
I
was
love
not
that.
kidding.
No, you were
I
not
love
kidding.
that. I
Yep.
love that.
Yeah.
So there is another interesting quote here from theconversation.com. Compared with teenagers in previous decades, iGen teens are less likely to get together with their friends. They're also less likely to go to parties, go out with friends, ride in cars for fun, go to shopping malls, or go to the movies. It's not because they are spending more time on work, homework, or extracurricular activities. Today's teens hold fewer paid jobs. Homework time is either unchanged or down since the 1990s, and time spent on extracurricular activities is about the same. Yet, they're spending less time with their friends in person, and by large margins. In the late 1970s, 52% of 12th graders got together with their friends almost every day. By 2017, only 28% did.
Whoa.
The drop was especially pronounced after 2010.
I was at the Mammoth. Is that who the professional lacrosse game team is?
Sounds
We were
right.
in Mile High Stadium where the Broncos play, and we were in the front row because Chris got work tickets, and there was 8 high school boys in the front row, and every single one of them in the middle of the game in the front row were on their phones.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
At least they were together. Because
In
based
person.
on that article,
Right.
that is
Yeah.
depressing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I have a similar experience. We were in Golden, Colorado. There's Clear Creek that runs through downtown Golden. Beautiful area, rafting, whatever, all the Colorado type of things going on there. And I was looking around and I was like, what in the world is happening? Literally every single person we looked at was staring at their phone. It was insane. Like, it was so depressing. And so just like, here you are in this gorgeous place. And then we were like, it's probably a Pokemon Go thing. Like,
That
what the
shit's
heck?
so weird.
What the heck? Are they like looking for this Pokemon thing? I don't know. But it was so weird. It was so like, what the hell is happening here?
That's a good question.
It is kind of like out of this world. Like, are we just
depressing.
becoming, our smartphones are like our next
BFFs.
extremity,
Cell phones are the BFFs.
you know?
Yeah.
And then it's like, ugh, everybody's getting like neck problems.
Well, did you see
and
that
body
thing?
problems
Or finger issues.
Yeah, because
Did-
they're just into it.
Did you see that thing?
Yikes.
And I think it was, and it ended up being proven like as like a fake news type of thing. But people were getting, it was like a picture of people getting horns, like a horn growing on the back of their skull from the radioactive or whatever from the cell phones. Did
that
you
a
see this
joke?
going around? Yeah, it ended up being disproven. But everybody was like, oh
Anna,
yeah,
that is not real.
that's why I said. No, that's why I said it was fake news. But like,
Oh, I didn't hear that.
oh gosh.
Sure. Okay.
You're
okay.
like, that sounds like BS.
I think you're full of shit, Anna.
Yeah, so it ended up being disproven. But
Right, okay.
like, I mean, people were like, yeah, that totally sounds about right. I mean, you know,
No.
isn't that crazy?
No, I'm going to put my foot down here. We are not going to grow horns.
Well,
Well,
look what Anna
No.
thought about the internet.
yeah, I thought that was a really bad idea.
Yep. Horns.
There's no way that's going to take off.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Well, I think
It
that-
is-
I
yeah.
think it's interesting because I was talking before we started this recording is that I feel like the digital world is a lot like food. And now, because we have to be connected in some ways, and food you have to eat, but you can do all sorts. Like if you eat too many brownies, that is not good, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't eat anything, that is not good either. And so it feels like it's kind of like you have
Yeah.
to be somewhat connected
Yeah.
and have to. So
Well,
I just
and like
wonder how
all
that
the
all
relationships, I think that's a really good comparison. And you think about like food addiction or like food, programs that help people with
There's a
food
treatment center
issues.
for online stuff in California,
Yeah.
I think now for the first one.
Like digital
opened up.
addiction?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's real.
It is
It's
real.
super
You
real.
gotta-
I get twitchy, honestly, when I'm like, I left my phone. We went to fireworks and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have my phone with me. And I was like, I got to go run up and get it. And I ended up just being like, it's fine, whatever comes through during this time, I'm going to let it go or whatever till later. And it ended up being like, I felt really disoriented not
Right.
having it, not even for my main excuse of taking photos, but like, it really made me realize like, I'm so connected to this device. Like,
I
it's like
find
a safety-
myself, if
safety
I
net.
am not with my kids, I do not want my phone far at all. But then as soon as I get with my kids, I'm like, okay, I'll
Yeah.
leave
Right.
it. I can leave it. But if I'm not with them, which is totally, obviously like very attached and,
Yeah.
Maybe helicopter-ish or whatever. I don't care. Frankly, I don't really care, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
Like if I don't have my kids on me, if I don't have my kids with me, then I have my phone on me
Yeah.
always.
Right.
Well,
you
and
know?
there's interesting stuff that comes up with. I read an article about how having just the phone in the room or on the table in your line of sight
Oh, yeah.
changes the conversation
Yep.
because people are kind of distracted.
Oh, I believe that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
And speaking of digital stuff, but on Instagram, I follow this guy, Gary V.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
he talks about, he's this entrepreneur guy and he has all sorts of opinions about lots of things. Some of it interesting.
a
and
lot
some
of
of it, he has a
opinions.
lot of opinions. But he presents a thing where he doesn't think that digital stuff is an issue at all and that you should just give kids full reign of electronic stuff because that's the way the world's going.
There's
which is-
some unschooling beliefs like that
what
too.
is super interesting, but then also the part that I think is not addressed or the part that I wonder is because they're so I wonder about because I'm a therapist obviously, but like is the people don't know how to self-soothe because they always have their phone to go through. And so if they're feeling anxious or they're feeling any sort of uncomfortable thing and you go and you get this hit from your phone, I think that the phone is as addictive as like heroin or crack or something. And I don't know the study about that, but it's like, so yes, we're going this way back to like the eating comparison, but it's super interesting that like, I don't know that there's a right answer to any of it.
Right. But certainly worth being very aware.
Very, very mindful of
like
that.
how we use it, when we use it. Actually, just jumping ahead, and this is off topic, but I wonder if the like awareness takeaway would be just putting your phone away when you're having one-on-one or you're in conversation.
Yeah.
That'd be really good.
I think that's great. I love to not have it when I can.
Yeah.
But then if
like think about like even for coffee.
Yeah.
When we have our coffees,
I usually leave it in the car.
We don't have our phones.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
We don't. And it certainly helps with connection.
Actually, one time when I was talking about something serious, Anna was Shazam.
We've talked about this.
I just like to give her shit.
Yeah.
You looked at me like,
oh.
I did have it out.
So the other thing I think to be just with the awareness of how you're using it is the authenticity piece. And Anna, I know you brought this up in episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk a little bit about how authenticity and coming from an authentic place and using social media is helpful?
Yeah, totally. So for me, part of why I like social media so much, I can't think of digital without thinking of social media, but why it's fun for me is because I really, really strive to show up as my true self in all I do online. So a lot of my businesses, my blog, and then WeSave.com, is all online. Like I have a Spinning Fast boot camp, but like all these different things that I do that are online, these communities I've built, have been because I've showed up as my true self. And that's my aim. Any, like blog post I write or anything like that, like are very conversational, very true to how I speak in real life. And I think that's why I enjoy it. And I always try to think about who's listening or who's reading it and say like, how is this going to benefit them? Like at the end of the day, I want to hear their tips. I want to hear their feedback. And so if you come at it as like, here's how I can take these conversational tips and kind of modify them to work in an online digital environment, this is how I can make it fulfilling to me. Whereas if you're just like throwing shit up there and just being like, hey, look at how amazing I am, and kind of like, I don't think that doesn't serve me. And
I don't think that serves anybody.
I mean, sometimes, honestly, I will throw up a picture where I'm like, damn, I look good. Like, I'm looking rough. But this picture, I was looking good. And I'm just going to put this up there because I want to. So there's that too, just for fun's sake. But like, I think, not taking it too seriously, taking breaks from it. Also, I schedule out a lot of my content. Like, so talking about like, taking breaks and like the interruptions that you're talking about with like switching gears and all this stuff. Like I've really found that by bulk doing a lot of my online tasks by different software through different softwares, I'm able to be way more intentional about how I am showing up online, where it's more of like here in this section, I'm going to like plan out some content, and then, like for a few minutes during the day, I'm going to respond, and I'm going to be able to fully show up and answer these questions or get to know these people a little bit better. And that makes it fulfilling to me. Since starting this podcast and having the Facebook group stuff, I think it's super, like I didn't understand that until we started with this. And so you didn't understand.
I didn't understand like, what is this group stuff?
Oh, because I suggested.
Well, because you were like, and I'm like, okay. But
well, I was like, I think we need to have a Facebook group and like where we encourage people to go to interact and where we can talk to people. But
it's been fascinating. Like and the interaction has been awesome. And so I have a new appreciation for that because I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another article here about teens being optimistic about technology and its uses. And it says over half, 51%, said that during times when they felt lonely, tech provided a solution to their loneliness, such as enabled them to make new friends, receive support and advice, as well as read positive comments online.
So the question I have for that is that, we're not teens, so does that just make us old?
Right.
Right? Because we don't necessarily have I don't know, I don't have the same viewpoint as that most of the time. And so does that just make me old, like I'm not getting it? You know?
Right.
You might be.
Right.
Yeah. So like, I mean, do you ever go on like Reddit, for example?
No.
Okay. So I really like Reddit.
Yeah, it's great.
Because it's like
Why?
a place where you can it's pretty anonymous. I guess, yeah, it is totally anonymous. I mean, there's a way to kind of see more about people. That's beside the point. Delete.
Stalker.
No. But yeah, so on Reddit, it's really great because you get to see or read about different people's experiences in like questions that you might want to ask or know more about, but not necessarily have people in your life that are going through that you know of to ask about these specific things. So it
Do you ever
lets you like
do Quora?
I have heard about that one as well and have
What is it?
looked into
Quora?
that as well.
What is that?
QUORA.com.
Yeah. And there's another one.
You can post questions and it's just,
okay.
it's a great.
Yeah, you can kind of be anonymous. And
Yeah.
there's a group on Facebook called Wives Anonymous. And it's like you can ask questions anonymously and search. It's really cool to get people's experiences and see, what people have gone through or what they're going through. And in all of these, kind of community forums and kind of see like, maybe I'm not going through that right now, but it's interesting to see what other people's experiences are.
And then people can comment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll post it.
Yeah.
I also think I listened to an interview about the people that created Strava, which is like the online originally for like cycling, but then it's like a social media for active people. But I am not super involved with that. But Chris is starting to dabble in it, and it's like just super interesting. And they were talking about how people love it because
Is it like accountability stuff?
And Chris is your husband. We've mentioned him a couple times on this
Chris
episode.
is my husband. Yes, yes. But it's accountability, and they also have like challenges, and they have you can connect into a network of people, and so if you go on a ride or you got a personal best, then people can give you feedback like high fives.
Oh, okay.
And so you get a lot of like support to keep going, or can comment on a run or like all sorts of different things, or can get you out if you're like struggling, And so I just think as another
Yeah.
Great technological resource.
So
right.
Speaking of teenagers and tech and stuff, I wonder if teens are like cruising anymore. Like how they talked about like going on a ride or whatever in cars.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Like we used to, in Lincoln, Nebraska, we would do this thing, cruising O, which is O Street was like the main drag.
Oh, yeah.
And like it's so,
we did it too, yeah.
so like
It was awesome.
We've got to get it. We've got to get a teen in here.
Oh, yeah.
We need their
yeah.
their take.
Did you ever do cruising?
Oh yeah, but I mean,
Absolutely.
it was a lot of just goof. I mean, who knows what I was up to driving around in cars.
Trying to, yeah. Well, yeah, totally different time.
Yeah, it really.
I wonder if
is.
people still do that.
Well, isn't there a thing though that like driving in and of itself is less appealing because of Uber, and there's a
Shit is
whole,
crazy to me.
Yeah, like there's a whole thing about. Oh, where was I reading this? But there's a whole thing about
Kids are just not interested.
They're not interested in driving. Like,
I was like chomping at the bit
yes,
to drive.
Oh, freedom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's that I can't even wrap my head around that.
Yeah. Telling you,
I paid $500.
we're old.
I'm telling you,
what
that's
this
what I
comes
was-
down to.
I'm telling you,
We're just old. We are.
Oh my
we
God.
are.
I paid
I walked up
500.
the hill.
I know
both
it.
ways to school.
Yes, exactly.
That's what this episode sounds like.
Yes, I
my
know. Totally
gosh.
sounds like that. Oh,
Well,
boy.
not entirely though.
Technology.
I mean, I think like so. Let's talk about this. The like smaller groups
yeah.
can be really beneficial. And Anna, you're kind of the expert over here on your. Do you want to talk a little bit about when you went out to Facebook?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to go to Facebook headquarters in California. It was freaking crazy, San Francisco, and go to the Facebook Community Summit. And so talk about setting a goal. So Facebook has a goal that Mark Zuckerberg said, and that is to make sure every single human on the planet is connected to a meaningful community on Facebook.
When Anna was telling us that in coffee when she came back, her eyes were big and bright. Like,
Yes.
That's big goals. I'm going to have big goals.
Yeah.
You were stoked when you
Very
I was like, they
inspiring.
know how to set a goal. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm like, go big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go big
I
or
really
go
appreciate
home.
that. Yeah. So, I mean, it was just really cool. And I mean, there's an interesting article about like using Facebook groups as therapy and people that are sharing like their deepest secrets on Facebook. And, you know, there's a lot of power in Facebook groups. And this is why I knew it had to be something that we did for this podcast, this create a Facebook group, because I saw how it has helped actually my Spending Fasters group that is for my blog. It helps people going through a spending fast, helps people who are trying to get out of debt. And I remember feeling how so much shame and isolation when I was going.
Do you want to do just a quick shout out to your website or where people can find that?
Yeah, sure. And then we save.com. And then the group that goes along with that is spendingfastersgroup.com. Thanks, Amy.
Mm-hmm.
And that really is a place for people to go to feel less alone with their debt. And a lot of the listeners of this podcast are members of that group, and I'm so thankful that they have they're coming over and listening.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is a true like kindness in that group, and every single time I talk about that group, it's like my heart gets all warm, and I just, because it's like, it's super, super important for me to make sure that community is not judgmental, to make sure it's encouraging and kind and loving. And there's enough shame that we put on ourselves and that society puts on us for having debt and getting into this mess. And I just remember like how stupid I felt, you know, like getting into that situation, that it's like this community that I'm building, the culture of it has to be kind. And so like anyone who does
How
any
cool
like
that
trolling.
It's great that Facebook allows you to really monitor that
Yeah.
and really, you know,
Yeah. I just
kick out
boot 'em.
any bad apples.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, you're trolling? Bye.
Yeah.
No, we're not having it. We're not judgmental. Don't act like you know how to handle this situation way better than someone else when you're in the group too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's super important, I think, to be the example of how the group runs and to truly reinforce that, because like in every single community that I build, like with our podcast group, with any I have a VIP group too for people who want like even more help with getting out of debt, with like weekly coaching from me and stuff, or, you know, weekly contact. It's something that I make a concerted effort to make sure those communities are kind. And I feel like
And
you
safe,
have to,
it sounds like.
Oh, yeah.
Which I
Yeah,
think is
for
such a
sure.
huge thing with social media. But if these smaller groups are safe and secure and kind,
yeah.
then that is
That
a
is the key.
real
Super
powerful
powerful.
tool.
Because people will not share what they're going through if they feel like they're going to be judged.
Right.
Yes.
And it's like in real life that happens, and it happens in online too. And so it's like, I truly feel there is a lot of power in these community groups, as this article states, of like therapy. And Amy, do you want to read this part here?
Yeah, so this article is from theatlantic.com, and the title is Facebook Emotional Support Groups. Over the past year, Facebook has been consciously emphasizing groups, part of an effort, per Mark Zuckerberg, to, quote, give people the power to build community and bring the world closer together, end quote. These groups cover interests ranging as widely as the human imagination. Facebook has turned into a gathering place for strangers sharing their deepest secrets. Emotional support groups have sprung up around topics broad and narrow: diabetes, addiction, egg donation, a specific birth control device now pulled from the U.S. market, parenting children who might grow up to be psychopaths, rare diseases that affect only a few dozen patients in the whole world. The internet has always promised to connect people by common interest rather than geography. And with its 2 billion user base, Facebook is where those connections are often being made. For people searching for support, Facebook is a one-stop shop.
There was
Now that is quite a sales pitch.
That is
I just gotta say, we are not being sponsored by Facebook.
But Facebook, if Facebook wants to sponsor us, we will consider it.
Yes. I was listening to this on whatever I was listening to, but this dude wanted to get involved in, because they have different, when you click that you want to go to this group, so he wanted to just go and just expand his social network. And so he created an app or a Facebook something where he could just connect into random experiences. And so when you get the random experience, like this is the one that is in the roulette and it pops up for you, then you go to it. And so his whole thing was crazy. He went to like it was a public group. So he went to someone's house on Christmas Eve for dinner, and he went to like some weird strip club, and then he went to like but he was talking about all these stories, and then went to some like random like gun meeting or something, just like all these different experiences. And so he was just talking about, and then that was all, and he was creating this community. I don't know where it is now or what it's called, but and all these people,
I love that idea.
And then you end up in all these random places where you definitely wouldn't necessarily go there. Yeah. So he's talking about that.
Funny. I love that. That's cool.
And it's like, I'm signing up for that.
I want to sign up. I need the link.
Right.
Well, and
you know what I think is interesting is that we've only really talked about Facebook and Instagram, which I think also is an indicator of our age.
Yeah.
Because like Snapchat. Like there's just...
I had to watch a freaking tutorial on how to do that. I'm not the target demographic.
Again, this is a marker of our age.
But so Spotify, right?
Yeah.
If we talk about different ways to connect. So music on Spotify, it's crazy that you can do a music playlist and then send that to someone.
It's so
like
handy.
we don't... Yeah, it's great. And
you don't have to burn a CD or make a mixtape anymore.
Yeah, right?
Let me get my marker, write some hearts on there.
This is it's so
For Christmas, for multiple years in my 20s, I would create Anna's Mad Mix.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I actually, one of my sister-in-laws, she always makes mixtape, or she burns them. We do CDs.
Still?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
My friend found it in her car, and she sent me a picture of like 2012 is awesome. It's like,
that's awesome.
She's like, look what I found in my car. It's great.
So fun. But yeah, that's a great way to connect too. It's just like sharing playlists and music, and
or even if I go to a yoga class and they're like, oh, I'm on Spotify, and then you can get their playlist.
Yes.
Like,
that's so cool.
It's good.
I used to be on Pandora, and I was like, what's this deal with Spotify? Like, it can't be that much better. Turns out it's really great.
It is really great.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So with that, let's talk about our the Nugget, the awareness challenge. What's it gonna be?
Nugget. We love nuggets. Okay, I actually think, and this isn't something that we had talked about, but I think that part of it should be turn off your notifications. Like that has been something that has been so humongous for me.
I'll take that challenge.
To be like, you know what? I don't want these things popping up and telling me when to, like, hey, Anna, pay attention to me. It's more of like, now I am choosing to look at this when I want.
I like that.
So that's something that's helped me a ton.
I do keep the Headspace notification up because I like the little mindfulness thing that they tell me.
Oh my gosh, I'm totally taking that challenge.
But
Thank you.
It's so good to just be like, the intention, like I'm setting this aside, time aside to do this. And
that's
then,
good.
What was the one that you brought up earlier?
Just in conversation, put the phone away.
Yeah.
Like when you're in person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess I think about our coffee, or if I'm out to dinner with my brother, or, whatever, I think just for like basic connection.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so eye contact, the whole deal. If you don't have the distraction of the phone, it's just a deeper connection.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
And it's kind of simple, but it's also like really not a given. Like how many times are you sitting with someone and they have their phone?
Yep.
Well, and it really pauses the conversation. It's like, well, I have to wait for them to deal with whatever's on their phone. It's kind of like, all right, I'm not as important as that.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Even if it's like so accepted, the reality is they're choosing that over me right now.
Yes. So 2 good nuggets.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then I think that wraps up our show. Yeah. So don't forget, go to lessalonepodcast.com to access the show notes, links, and resources from this episode. And also use the discount code LessAlonePodcast for 20% off your first month at weeditpodcast.com. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. You can find more about this episode and a way to connect to the community at lessalonepodcast.com. And if you like us, don't forget to subscribe and be sure to leave a review. It helps other people find us and could be just what they need.